So this week we are in America at the Daytona International Speedway, and we have the 6 hours of Daytona Conspit race in iRacing for you guys today. Now for this race I am racing with my mate Noah, who is from Canada, and we are racing on behalf of Sorrento Motorsports. And I think it's fair to say that this race was my craziest race yet. We're going to start off in P14 after our qualifying didn't really go as planned. It was raining during our qualifying and Noah forgot to change the tyres, so we only managed to get one lap in, which managed to put us into P14. But we're going to go green now, just on the exit of the bus stop. Kind of caught Noah napping a little bit. And so this race is the 6 hours Conspit of Daytona. So I'm running this with Noah for our team, Sorrento Motorsports, which if you want to learn more or even think about joining, then there is a load of information in the description if you're interested. It's a relatively new team. We've got about 100 people so far on our Discord, which is really doing well really. But into turn one, keeping it nice and clean, nothing major happened so far, just trying to keep it clean. Obviously we've got 6 hours in this race, so as I said, that he does nearly bin it in the exit of turn 2, but luckily that doesn't happen. But again, so far so good. Kind of scrubbed the entry there and managed to get jumped by P15, which puts us back a place. Now, we did start this race on dry tyres. Everyone else apart from us was on wets, as we were looking at the weather and there was no rain, but the track was quite wet and there was no more rain scheduled for the entire race. So our strategy was gamble it a bit, as our qualifying wasn't great, so we didn't really have much to lose. Start on dries whilst everyone else is on wets, and try and gamble a bit and try and just keep it alive, no damage, try and not spin or lose too much time, but to play the long game, and hopefully when everyone pits or crashes we can kind of take all those positions, as it was about a 15-20 minute gap until the track would go into our hands and would be faster than many people. But even during this point, obviously you can see now we're so much faster than everyone in the straights. Obviously we've got the McLaren and the Ecra behind. We just absolutely pull away from them, which is probably a combination of both our setup, as well. I think we're using the grid and go setup in this race. But I mean, already now we've pulled half a second away from him in the straights, but it's just at the minute it's in the corners that we're losing so much time, because obviously we can't really get too much grip because we're on dries and the track is quite wet. And here you can see the brand new livery we got designed for this race for the GT3 on the Porsche, and it just looks absolutely fantastic. The gold and the black just goes so well, and this is a really fantastic livery which I'm very proud to be racing in this race. So far, not a bad start. Could be better, but could also be much worse considering we are on dry tyres on a wet track. We're going to get jumped by the green Mercedes there, which does put us into P17.
Ooh. Sorry, a little slick there.
And Noah just does a little mistake which allows quite a few cars to go past us that we were kind of holding up through the infield. So far we are on P22. Not much crazy action so far in these opening few laps, but if there's any video that I would implore you to watch the whole way through, it is this video, because the outcome is just absolutely crazy. You can kind of already tell because how the video is going that the strategy does do some quite interesting things for us. But so far, P21, we are following this Mercedes who does have a little bit of a slip going into turn 1, and the Porsche behind us just does not want to brake at all and kind of goes straight into us, which is quite a weird one. He had quite a lot of time to react, but just goes straight into us. I mean, he gets away very lucky. It was a closing door and he managed to kind of get away fairly well. Damage to us wasn't too bad. We didn't really notice or feel anything, but now we're just kind of getting all the traffic coming through, so the track's quite busy and we're racing this green Porsche just ahead. Noah spots just a bit of space but can't really get the move done, and we've got an LMP2 right behind us trying to overtake us and get through. So I can't really do too much there. Just fast forwarding just a little bit here. We're gaining so much on this race. As you can see here, it feels like we're in a completely different car, as you just never gain this much in GT3s, at least from my experience. But Noah's going to go for a move on the inside of the bus stop. Can he get it done? Of course he can. That puts us into P20. So we're kind of, we're kind of getting in there now. Our tyres are kind of warmed up a little bit. We're not losing tremendous amounts of time that we have been previously. And everyone's kind of starting to make a couple of mistakes. That's P19 ahead of us in the white Mustang, making a mistake and going just wide, which puts us now into P19. So we're really getting on there now and getting our pace up. We're going to go past the McLaren on the left, and that puts us into P18. So we are really getting some good traction now. Obviously started P14, lost quite a couple of positions, and now we're back into P18. So could be quite worse. But so far, so good. We're now kind of catching up to everyone, and our tyres are doing quite well compared to everyone. The changeover point is definitely coming up here, as we're going to go past the Acura on the inside, which puts us into P17. So we're definitely clawing back the positions ahead of us now. The white Acura does get forced to take a bad line because of the GTP, so we're going to capitalise on that and take the inside and putting us into P9. Now, at this point, people are starting to pit. We are about 13 minutes into this race, so the track is kind of starting to dry. You can kind of see the dry line there starting to form. Everyone's kind of spinning now. You see the BMW in the back just having a bit of a moment. But we're going to try and go past this Acura, who's trying to keep his tyres cool on the outside line. So we're going to take that position, putting us into P9 just before the bus stop. But yeah, as I say, everyone's kind of starting to pit. This is the leader now pitting, and he's going to bring in a load more people with him. So at this point, we're P9, and about 4 to 5 cars are entering the pits, which is going to put us up quite a few positions. So it's kind of nice to see our strategy now starting to work. As you can see here, we are now P3, which is absolutely incredible. Considering we started P14, the only team to start on dry tyres, it's safe to say that this strategy has really worked out, and the gamble really has paid off. P2 and P3 both were ahead of us, who just pitted on this lap, which now puts us into P1. The Porsche on the right is a lapped car, so we are effectively in the lead after about 20 minutes into this 6-hour race. So this really couldn't have played any better. The main thing is now, obviously, it's halfway through the stint, so we've just got to make it to the end of the stint. We're going to be offset from all the other cars, but as I say, the main thing is to make sure we don't crash, don't spin, don't have any crazy moments, and just keep it nice and safe and steady, and hopefully we can capitalise on this lead. But we're going to go into turn 1, and Noah's going to get a tiny bit overextended and just spin it into turn 1, but no crazy damage, just quite a bit of time loss. But obviously we're about 2.5, 2.3 rating, so those things are always going to happen, and I'm sure we're not going to be the only ones doing that. As you can see there, Noah takes this pit and comes back out and just goes a bit too deep and getting a bit wide on the back, and just completely loses it and just taps the wall at the exit of the bus stop. Now in this position, we were P5. Obviously, our strategy is now offset with everyone else because everyone pitted when we went and stayed out. But yeah, the damage wasn't too bad. It was still fairly drivable, but we just lost quite a lot of time, and it's going to be some optional repairs that we're probably going to have to take at some point during the race. But at this point, we're P6. Nothing much else happened during the rest of that stint apart from that spin during the exit of the bus stop. And this is when I now get in the car after Noah's 2 stints, which he did a really great job putting us into P14 and then putting us into P1, and then by the time of my pit stop, it's P11. Obviously, just remember, we're offset from everyone, so we're still probably a bit higher than we should be relatively compared to what we are at this point. But exiting the pits, just giving the wall a bit of a kiss for a good measure, and going to come out. And so far, my main aim is just to not spin it, which I nearly accomplished. And I remember leaving the pits, and I was like thinking I got a drive through, which would not have been a good way to start the stint, but luckily that didn't happen. Getting a few traffic coming up behind me, but my main thing, this is obviously my first stint of the race, just keep it clean, try and get the off track to a minimum. I think Noah had about 14 until my stint, so my aim was just to keep those low and hopefully just to not get a drive through, as it was still quite a long way to go. But because of our previous spins, it's just kind of about keeping it clean and just kind of gaining the gap to the cars ahead to try and rectify our couple of spins so far. But so far, so good. We're going to flash forward a bit. We're now P7. At this point, I am absolutely chasing down P6 by about a second a lap, so I'm really trying to push. But I just go in a bit too deep and lock the rears and just spin it, which not what you want when you're trying to chase down a couple of cars ahead. And obviously we do get a couple of incident points for going off track and obviously having a loss of control. But yeah, just a load of little things that are quite annoying seems to be making us lose quite a lot of time to the cars ahead. We just need to try and settle down and keep it much more safer than we're doing currently, because all these little mistakes are really knocking off our chances of getting a win or at least a podium, which was, which would have been really nice. But I think during this point we're now aiming for top 5, as our various accidents have just kind of set us back a bit. We've lost the lead at this point. As you can see, we're now P7. But this lap is my fastest lap of the race, which is a 1:44.472, which I was very happy with. I think during this point it was the fastest lap of the race as well. I think the lap only got beat a couple stints before the end of the race, which I think at that point was a 44.3 or a 44.2. So considering my journey into GT3s, I'm definitely happy to be putting up such competitive times. And obviously we're fighting for a win, fighting for a podium, fighting for a top 5. We're currently in the top 10, so I'm very happy with that so far. And still a long way to go in this race, so it's definitely not over by any means. But as you guys know, I do show the whole lap of my fastest lap in each race, obviously coming from previous videos. So I do want to improve as much as I can. So any tips or any advice you guys have about how I can improve, especially just my driving skills in general, please feel free to either drop them in the comments or feel free to join our Discord server, which you will find a link for that in the top pinned comment of the comment section or in the description if you fancy. But yeah, moving on, was a decent lap. I'm very happy with it. But just to do a brief overview of the race so far, we're at this point we're very happy with how it's going. Obviously everyone started on wets and we started on dries, so we kind of had to make that gamble, and it's safe to say it's very much paid off so far. But we're going to make my pit stop here, and that brings us to the end of my 2 stints of this race. That I couldn't do as much stints as I liked, but due to time constraints I could only fit in 2 stints. So going forward here to Noah, I think at this point there's about an hour left, so Noah is really on the charge. And as you can see, we're still P7, but a lot changes in this last hour. So ahead of us is P6, who's had quite a slow stint. Noah was catching about half a second a lap constantly, which is just fantastic by Noah. He's done an absolutely great job this race. But that puts us into P6. So looking up, hopefully we can pick off a few more positions before race end. If people start pushing a bit too hard or getting overconfident, hopefully we can kind of take that from them, and that will easily kind of give us a free positions. But here in front of us is P5, and now I think people are starting to get the pressure of us chasing them. Noah was driving absolutely blistering fast during his stint, and you can just kind of see he just takes a bit of a spin and goes into the grass, which gives us another free position. Now at this point Noah was lapping in the 44.3s, which was just absolutely blistering in our split. It was about a 10th quicker than my fastest lap, and he was really chasing people down. And as you can see, ahead of us is P4, who just kind of lost the rear and went for a spin, and that gives us another position, putting us into P4, which is the position we will finish this race in. And we're now going to start our final lap, and this race was just really incredible. And I have to give a big shout out to Vincent, who is also in our team, Sorrento Motorsports, who did a great job of spotting Noah whilst I had to leave, and that was really beneficial to both Noah and our race as a whole. But this race was really enjoyable to race. I mean, we started from 14th and did an unbelievable strategy from the start of the race to start on dry tyres whilst everyone else was on wets, and it really did play out. We definitely could have got more and achieved more. I think the win was definitely in the bag, but me and Noah are both kind of fairly new to GT racing, and you can kind of see that in the various mistakes we did make. But that's kind of general knowledge, and it kind of comes with this line of racing, and I can kind of only hope to learn more to kind of not make those silly mistakes again in the future. But I'm really happy with our performance, and it was kind of my first proper race I did with Noah for a couple of months. We did win the Sebring 12 hours at the start of the year, which was great. But this is our first kind of endurance race together, and it's definitely a great result to start P14, to have the race that we did have, and to finish in P4. We definitely both will take it, and it was a great race by us both, and especially to Noah. He did a lot more stints than me, and obviously spent a lot longer driving the car, and he did a really great job, especially at the start of the race, starting in the tricky conditions to keep it clean and not to have any major incidents. It was a great race on his half. But in general, it's a very, very, very fun race. We have many more races planned together that we hope to do just in terms of endurance racing. So hopefully you can see a lot more videos in terms of endurance racing coming on soon. But yeah, it was a really fun race. I'm very happy with how it started and how it ended. A lot more room for improvement, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. But that does sum up this 6 hours of Daytona. If you are new around here and you did enjoy this video, please feel free to subscribe and or like this video. And also make sure to join our Discord in the description or in the comment section to meet like-minded people, or if you're just a general fan and want to chat to other people playing iRacing or any other general games. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys.